Welcome, learner and listener. This is not just a scary story, it's your chance to improve your English while diving into one of the most mysterious legends of the Americas, the Chupacabra. As you read, you'll see how English is used in real storytelling, with dialogue, description, and suspense. You'll learn new vocabulary, see how words are used in context, and practice your reading skills, all while enjoying a thrilling tale. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Whispers in the Night. The wind howled through the hills of Puerto Rico. A dog barked once, then went silent. Something moved in the shadows near the goat pen. Miguel Alvarez wiped the sweat from his brow and looked out the window. "Another hot night," he muttered. He didn't notice his goats were restless, their eyes wide, ears twitching. Something was out there. Miguel stepped onto his porch, a flashlight in one hand and a rusty machete in the other. The beam of light flicked across the trees. Nothing. Then a shriek. Not human. Not animal. Something in between. Miguel froze. Suddenly, the goats screamed. He ran toward the pen, heart pounding. What he saw chilled him to the bone. 3 goats, dead, no blood, just 2 perfect holes on each neck. He had heard the stories, but never believed them. Until now. El Chupacabra, he whispered. Chapter 2. The Tracks in the Dust. The next morning, the sun rose reluctantly behind gray clouds. Miguel stood silently near the goat pen, staring at the remains of his animals. The police had come, but left quickly, shrugging their shoulders and blaming wild dogs. But Miguel knew better. He crouched down to examine the dirt. That's when he saw them. Footprints, but not human, not canine. 3 toes, long, clawed. They led to the forest. He swallowed hard. "Miguel!" It was Rosa, his niece, barely 17, but brave beyond her years. She jogged over, worry on her face. "I heard what happened. Is it true?" she asked. He nodded, not saying a word. His eyes were still on the forest. "I want to see them," she said. Miguel hesitated. "You don't want to see this, Niña." "I have to," she replied. "You think it was the Chupacabra, don't you?" He finally looked at her. "I think it was something not from here." Rosa knelt beside the tracks. "We should follow them." "You sound like your father." "Abuelo was never afraid," she said quietly. That was true. Her grandfather had told stories of the creature decades ago, before anyone took it seriously. He had disappeared in these same woods. Miguel sighed, then grabbed his flashlight and machete again. "Then we go, but we stay close." Together they followed the tracks into the dense green unknown. Chapter 3. The Forest Remembers. The forest was thick with vines and the scent of wet earth. Birds chirped nervously, and every snapped twig made Miguel grip his machete tighter. For an hour they walked, ducking under branches, stepping over roots. The tracks continued, sometimes deeper, sometimes fading, but they were always there. Rosa stopped suddenly. "Look," she whispered. Ahead was a small clearing. In the middle sat a circle of stones, blackened with age. Around it, feathers and bones had been arranged in a spiral. "Brujeria," Miguel muttered. "Witchcraft." Rosa shivered. "What would the Chupacabra want with this?" Miguel approached the stones. Something ancient hung in the air, like the echo of forgotten rituals. Suddenly, the wind changed. A low growl came from the trees. They turned slowly, red eyes, not 1 pair, 3. Creatures stepped out of the shadows, hunched, gray-skinned, with long arms and mouths lined with sharp teeth. Miguel held Rosa behind him. "Run!" But it was too late. One of them leapt. He swung the machete wildly, just missing. Rosa grabbed a branch and struck one across the face. It shrieked and backed away. More were coming. Miguel pulled Rosa by the arm, and they ran, deeper into the forest, the creatures close behind. Their only hope now was to reach the cave, the one from the old maps, the one no one dared to enter. Chapter 4. The Cave of Echoes. The forest grew darker even though it was still day. The canopy above was thick, and shadows twisted in unnatural ways. Miguel and Rosa ran until their lungs burned, branches whipping their faces, feet stumbling over roots and rocks. Then, at last, they found it. Half covered in moss and vines stood a stone archway, barely tall enough to crawl through. Behind it, a jagged hole yawned like a mouth in the mountainside. The cave! "Go!" Miguel shouted. Rosa dropped to her knees and scrambled inside. Miguel followed just as a sharp claw slashed the air behind him. Inside, the temperature dropped instantly. The cave walls were damp and pulsing with silence, broken only by the sound of dripping water and their heavy breathing. They kept moving. The tunnel twisted and dipped, the walls glittering faintly with minerals. In the distance, something moved, a shadow darker than darkness. Miguel stopped and held up his hand. "Quiet." There was a whisper, not in Spanish, not in English, a sound older than words. It flowed like wind, but felt like it had meaning. And then, light. Not sunlight, but a faint blue glow ahead. They walked toward it cautious. The tunnel opened into a vast chamber. In the center stood an altar, stone, ancient, cracked with time. Bones surrounded it. Animal bones, human bones. Rosa stepped forward. "What is this place?" Before Miguel could answer, the glow brightened. The walls began to pulse, and then it appeared. Not a creature of flesh, but of shadow and smoke. Tall, horned, with red eyes and a hunger that reached into their souls. It wasn't just a chupacabra. It was the first one, the origin, the legend, alive. It didn't move. It only watched, and in their minds they heard a voice. "You came to find me. Now you belong to the dark." Chapter 5. Blood and Stone. Rosa took a step back, but her foot hit a bone and sent it clattering across the floor. The sound echoed like thunder through the chamber. The creature's eyes flared brighter. Miguel raised his machete, not that it would help. "What do you want from us?" The voice returned, inside their minds. "You disturbed the pact. The blood must be balanced." Rosa looked around, her breath shallow. "What pact? What is this place?" The voice replied with visions. Images filled their minds like dreams. Villagers long ago gathered around this altar. Sacrifices made. Goats first, then dogs, then people. In return, the land was fertile. The storms passed. The crops thrived. But when the offering stopped, the creature awoke hungry. Miguel grabbed Rosa's hand. "We're not here to make deals. We're here to end this." The cave trembled. The shadows moved. From behind the altar, more shapes began to form. Smaller chupacabras, offspring, generations. Dozens of eyes opened. The voice came again. "You carry the blood. You are not strangers to the pact. The forest remembers." Miguel understood. "Abuelo." Rosa looked up. "What?" "He made the pact. He came here. He offered something, or someone, and he never left. The shadows parted. In the stone beside the altar, something was carved deep. A name, barely visible under moss and time. Santiago Alvarez, their grandfather. Suddenly, Rosa stepped forward. "What if we give you what you want?" she said, eyes locked on the creature. Miguel gasped. "No, I'm not talking about blood," she said calmly. "I'm talking about truth." The creature tilted its head. "If you let us leave, we'll tell the world what happened here. The stories will return. The memory will be alive again. No more hiding. You'll never be forgotten." The creature hesitated. The chamber fell still. Even the smaller beasts paused. Then, for the first time, it spoke aloud. "Remember me." And then it vanished. The glow faded. The cave was silent once more. For several minutes, Miguel and Rosa stood frozen in the silence, hearts pounding in the aftermath of the creature's disappearance. The chamber no longer glowed. The altar stood cold and still. The shadows had returned to being only shadows. Miguel lowered the machete slowly. "I think it's over," he whispered. Rosa turned toward the tunnel. "Let's not wait around to find out." They retraced their steps through the narrow cave, guided only by the weak beam of Miguel's flashlight. The deeper darkness behind them seemed to breathe, watching, listening. By the time they emerged from the cave, the sun had started to set. The forest outside felt different, lighter somehow, calmer. But they weren't alone. The edge of the clearing stood a woman, wrapped in a faded shawl, her face lined with age and secrets. She didn't speak, but her eyes were familiar. "Abuela," Rosa whispered. Miguel shook his head. "No, she's gone. That's someone else." The woman looked at them and nodded slowly, then turned and disappeared into the trees. Back at the village, the news of the goat deaths had already spread. But no one believed the true story. They never did. That night, Rosa sat at the kitchen table, scribbling furiously into a notebook. "We're writing it all down," she said. "Everything." Miguel poured them both coffee. "No one will believe it." "They don't have to," she replied. "They just have to remember." She added the final line. "The forest sleeps, but never forgets." Chapter 7. Legacy of the Beast. In the weeks that followed, strange things stopped happening. No more dead livestock, no screams in the night. The villagers whispered about a shift in the wind, but no one spoke of the Chupacabra. Except Miguel and Rosa. They began documenting every story, every rumor from old farmers, hunters, and children with nightmares. Rosa started a blog in English and Spanish, posting weekly. The First Witness, The Lost Tracks of Vieques, The Pact of the Stones. The stories spread. One night, a message came from someone in Mexico. "I saw it too. Near Monterrey. The eyes were red." Another came from Chile. "Our goats were killed the same way. We thought it was dogs, but the blood, it was gone." And then one from Texas. "I saw your article. We have caves like that here. I think you're right. It's not a creature. It's a memory that feeds." Rosa turned to Miguel. "It's waking up again." He nodded grimly. "Then we'd better keep telling the truth."